0.00097% of all fighters actually make it to the UFC. It took me 13 years, but I finally did it. And then once I did it, I actually stayed in there for a minute. That shit rhymes. Now, I was able to have 7 fights in the UFC before I pissed Dana White off with a handshake prank and got cut. In those 7 fights that I had, I learned some really valuable lessons that I wish I knew before I got there. So if you are out there and you're on a pathway trying to make it into the UFC, you're gonna want to stay to the end, because the last one, the 5th point, is the most important. My name is Kajan Johnson. I run and own Kajan Johnson MMA in Burnaby, BC. I fought in the UFC, as I've already said, but not only was I fighting, I was also coaching a team of killers and bringing them up to do the same thing while I was fighting, and I was fighting without a coach. So I've learned a ton. I had to know a ton in order to be capable of doing that. I've learned a lot, and here are the things that I've learned. Not in chronological order, but in order of importance. First thing, the UFC is rigged. I'm just joking. Like, it is rigged, obviously, everybody knows that, but I knew that before I was in the UFC. The first thing I actually learned was that defense is the most important thing in fighting. Now, when I was out of the UFC, I was really aggressive and I would attack people. I was putting defense in my offense, but I was highly offensive. I didn't think defense first. I thought defense second and then counter. This made me incredibly exciting as a fighter. Fans loved me. Everybody loved watching me. They're like, oh my God, we loved watching your fights. That was so sick. You fly-kneed the guy in the face. Like, awesome. But the thing about the UFC is it's a different beast. You have a lot of guys that have crazy technical skill. That's true. Everybody already knows that. It's the top of the heap. But here's the thing nobody tells you. You also have a lot of guys that have a high level of athletic ability. And those guys aren't even always that good. They're just so physically gifted that they were able to climb to the top of the heap of whatever demographic they're in, whether that's China or Russia or Brazil. They've been able to ascend the hierarchy in order to get the call into the UFC. These guys are crazy explosive. They're crazy strong. They have crazy endurance and they have crazy durability. So if you're fighting a dude like that, you're fighting a juggernaut. You don't even have to be that good. If you're ridiculous strong, you're super fast, and you're crazy durable, and you can last for 15 to 25 minutes, like you have that level of endurance, bro, if you're a skilled martial artist that doesn't have some of those attributes, even if you have 1 or 2, if you don't have all of them, it's going to be a difficult problem to solve. These guys are like superheroes, bro. They're just so hard. Their heads are like this big. You hit the guy with your hardest shot, he just looks at you. You have to be able to create a web of deception in order to get past these guys. And that does not work without defense. I didn't understand this. And then I got knocked out. And then I got knocked out again, twice in a row. On The Ultimate Fighter, got the contract anyway. Fight Tai Hyun Bang in my hometown in my UFC debut. This is like UFC 174. Knocked out. And then I'm like, yo, maybe I'm approaching this problem in the wrong way. This doesn't seem like how things went when I was in the regional national circuit, when I was winning titles at the top of the Canadian circuit. This was not the same thing that I was facing. These guys could just take damage. Tai Hyun Bong, I head kicked him like 3 times. Actually, I hit him with a fully flushed right head kick right in the skull. And the dude like took it and then fell in with a big overhand. And I was trying to kick punch him. So I get caught like bang on one foot. Down goes Kajan, dead. Right? And then I had crazy concussion symptoms. It was horrible. I couldn't fight for like a year. Thank God during that time, I was able to study and analyze the situation that I was seeing. And then I was able to create a very strategic plan that would ensure that my skill was able to dominate my opponent's athletic ability. It's very easy to understand that if you're behind the person, they're not very dangerous, unless it's Ryan Hall. But most people, if you're behind them, they can't really attack you. So if you're between these two lines, you're in front of both guns. If you're not in between the lines, it's very difficult for the person to hit you. If you're over here, it's hard for me to hit you with this. If you're over there, then it's hard for me to hit you with this. And most people really only have these two weapons. Look at Ilia Topuria. Dude doesn't throw a high kick ever. Dude doesn't throw a front kick ever. Dude throws overhand, left hook, liver shot, and low kick. The guy I knocked out, Adriano Martins, he spent the entire fight against me trying to throw overhand left and right hook. That was all he was throwing. And the thing is those are actually the most dangerous weapons in the game. If you go and you study tape and you actually analyze, okay, what are the most common knockout shots? It's overhand and hook every time. It's overhand and hook. Go and watch the next UFC. Go watch the White House card. And you will see a bunch of knockouts for sure. At least 3 knockouts on the whole card. At least, right? I guarantee you one of them is a hook and one of them is an overhand. And probably all of them are overhands or hooks. That's just the most dangerous shots in the game. If you can be hit by those shots, it's a problem. So I had to create a strategy in order to be over there or over there when we're in range for these weapons. And that really helped. But if you're not thinking like this, if you're not analyzing the problem that you see on a deep level, you're going to get exploited. Not just within the show. People that are out of the show now are still a lot better than they were when I was coming up. The evolution of martial arts continues, and people are just getting better and better and better. So even on the regional circuit, you better be acting like this. You better be thinking like this, because you don't want to get used to getting in firefights. You'll end up hurting a guy and going in for the kill, being open for the overhand. Your left hand drops just a little bit and bang, right in the temple, dead. Everyone in the UFC is great at boxing and Muay Thai range. People underutilize the clinch, so I heavily focused on the clinch. People really underutilize long-range weapons, like Michael Venom Page range, like Wonder Boy range, like Machida range. People don't know how to fight those dudes. That's why Ryan Hall is able to do what he's able to do. Because like me, he refuses to engage in a 50-50 situation in punching range. Kicks you from far away. You come in, he just rolls on the ground. You don't want to deal with that, then he stands back up and kicks you from far away again. Okay, you got to figure out a way to play a game like that where you're nullifying your opponent's best weapons, which if you can nullify the majority of people's best weapons, I feel that's the best way to go about that while magnifying yours. So maybe you suck at long range. You better learn it, right? You don't know how? Well, Pro Striking Guide, duh. You better get really good in the clinch. Don't know how? Coach doesn't know how, right? Well, we don't have the clinch guide yet, but that will be after the Pro Striking Guide. So the first thing that I learned, which this is actually the first thing, I said it wasn't going to be chronological, but this is the first thing that I had to figure out, because otherwise I wouldn't have been in the UFC very long. I lost my debut, and then I went on a win streak. But if I hadn't assessed the problem and created a strategic solution that was also creative and underutilized, I would never have been able to go on a streak. Okay, so prioritize defense is one. Number 2, you can't fight everybody the same. Most people don't operate like this. Most. Look at all the fighters in the UFC. Look at Justin Gaethje. He does the same thing every single time. Look at Ilia Topuria. He does the same thing every single time. Pick a fighter. The majority of them fight everybody in exactly the same manner. People find something that they get used to and that they get confident in, and then that's the way they approach every single problem, even when every single problem is different. And some of that is because they don't have a diverse skill set, right? They've just been training to be the best striker the whole time. They know how to get up off the ground, and they know how to throw kicks and punches in boxing range and Muay Thai range. That's all that they've been working on. They don't work on any other strategies. They've never shot a takedown, or rarely shot a takedown, only when forced by their coaches. You're not going to be able to have what you need if you fight somebody you can't beat with your hands. You need to be able to fight everybody different. Now, when I went on this win streak, after my first knockout loss, I beat a bunch of guys. I beat Zhang Lipeng, outpointed him from the outside, and clinched him. Then I beat Naoyuki Kotani, outpointed him from the outside, almost finished him a couple times, flying knee him, hit him with right hands. It was a really good fight. Then I fought Adriano Martins. Everybody thought I was gonna lose. I beat him. I knocked him out in the third round with this weird kick punch that I did while I was almost a check punch on one foot. Super weird punch. But I used the same strategy for all those guys. And then I fought Stevie Ray. And I also beat him again with the same strategy. And now this strategy, I'm starting to really believe my own hype. I'm starting to believe that nobody can defeat this. I've just figured out this hack. I can be too far away from you or too close to you. What are you gonna do about that? And then I meet Islam Makhachev. And I thought I was gonna do the same thing to him. I trained exactly the same. I spent a little bit more time dealing with clinch situations and working with Greco-Roman wrestler dudes. But other than that, I trained exactly the same. I had the exact same strategy. I'm like, this is undefeatable. Nobody's gonna beat me, ever. Then I get armbarred first round by Islam. Now, that wasn't like in the first second. It was like the last couple seconds of the round. Who knows what would have happened after that, but probably the same thing because I wasn't fighting him right. The power puncher problem is not the same as the wrestler problem. The way you need to fight a power puncher, if you're a long, athletic, fast person like me, is not the same way you need to fight a Dagestani, okay? If I'm fighting a power puncher, I like to run around the outside of the octagon. I like to have my back close to the fence because I'm able to keep at ranges that they're not able to hit me. They need to get me lined up in front of the guns and then they can hit me. But if they're constantly trying to lock in on where I am and the target just keeps moving, well, how are they gonna hit me? They're not. And I have a lot of weapons out there and I can just bing, 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 throw variety at them all night until they're like, screw this guy, yeah, bang. It's like annoy and destroy. That was my strategy. But if you try annoy and destroy against a wrestler, it is almost guaranteed you are going to get grabbed. You may be able to deal with the person grabbing you. Maybe you can defend the takedown after the grip has happened. But I can guarantee you the takedown is far more likely to happen if they can actually get a hold of you. So then I had to start studying that problem because I had another fight book. Right after I lost to Islam, I woke up the next morning and I texted Sean Shelby I want another one. Let's go. I want another one. So I'm still healthy. I didn't let him break my arm. I'm not dumb. And Sean sends me back, Rustam Khabilov, Moscow. And I'm like, oh. Bro, you want me to go to Moscow and fight this Daggy, man? I did hesitate. I was like, that's not my favorite fight. I didn't tell him that. Because I knew they were just gonna cut me if I turned down a fight. So I'm like, oh man, is there any way I can get out of this? And I'm like, no, you can't. You have to do it. And then it made sense. I was like, okay, well, God is just giving me the same problem. I lost to a Dagestani wrestler. And then in my next fight, I have to fight another Dagestani wrestler. Maybe this is God just giving me, here's where you're false, right? I had this approach. I'm gonna annoy and destroy everybody. God's like, wrong. Don't do that to wrestlers. And then he's like, oh, here's another test. Let's see if you can learn really fast because it's 5 weeks turnaround, right? So I go on this YouTube rabbit hole on how I'm gonna approach this thing. And I studied a bunch of stuff. I watched a bunch of people. How is everybody defending takedowns with the most success? One of the guys I actually watched, and I hate admitting this even, is fucking Conor McGregor, okay? Because Conor is actually decent at not getting taken down because he makes his opponents back up to the fence. They don't want to get hit by him. And they'll throw a bunch of really flashy stuff that makes people back up. Also his presence when he's in there. The flashy stuff can make them jump back momentarily, but if they don't believe that you're actually going to be able to knock them out, then they're just going to walk you down. Right, and then the spinning back kicks and hook kicks and all this fancy stuff is not gonna hold him at bay. But Conor's presence is he's in there in his brain. He literally doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a shit about what you're doing. He's like, everything you have, I'm gonna smash you. You get anywhere near me, I'm gonna smash you. And he's super calm about it. Not I'm gonna smash you. That's actually not strong. That's not scary. That's weak. If I see that in somebody, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna get countered. He's gonna make mistakes. But if you're super calm and you're just going out there okay, where's my shot? What do you have, buddy? I'm gonna knock you out. like Anderson, right? Anderson Silva, he would wreck guys even before the fight happened because he's just so calm and scary. Conor was able to back people up to the fence. Now, if you have to defend a takedown, it's best to be able to move away or sprawl into space. If I have space behind me, well, then I can defend the takedown. If there's a damn wall like that, if there's a wall right there, or a cage, obviously, how am I going to defend the takedown? There's methods, obviously, but how can I defend the grip? How can I stop them from actually being able to grab me? Once they grab me, things become much more difficult. If I can stop them from grabbing me, it's not going to cost me any energy to disengage, because I don't even have to. Never engaged in the first place. And then I can find exit shots. So he was fantastic at that. Cage management, I already knew about like long range weapons. You want to kind of throw like straight weapons, right? Instead of like throwing a bunch of round body kicks, not the best thing, but like stab kicks, right? Teeps, front kicks to the face, those type of things, jabs, crosses. Those are way harder for people to shoot under. He was also framing with his hands. He has this thing that he does where like he'll hit somebody and then he'll just touch them. And then he'll hit you and then right away he's trying to touch you. Because if you have your eyes closed and your hand is on the person and they start going down to shoot, you can really sense that, right? But like your eyes will actually lie to you a little bit. That's what feinting is, right? People are tricking your eyes by like, oh, I'm going for a takedown, and then coming up with punches. Where you have a way better read when you're actually physically touching the person. And then you also have something that can block them. He punches you and then he touches you, and then if he feels that takedown coming, that frame just becomes stiffer, right? You can do it with your hand, you can do it with your elbow, forearm, right? You can do it with your shoulder, right? Down block, right? And then if the guy gets super deep, sprawl. But I was never employing any of those strategies against Islam. Luckily, I learned them as fast as I could after Islam, and then 5 weeks later I fought Rustam. And against Rustam, I was able to employ the strategies, and I whooped his ass. Still lost the decision, but it's Moscow. Somebody called it worst decision of 2018. I don't know. Watch a fight, judge for yourself. So, number 2, do not fight everyone the same. People are unique, and your strategy must be unique. Number 3, trust yourself more than everyone else, even coach. That may be hard for you to believe, but it is true. This was actually a very difficult lesson that I had to learn. And like a lot of these lessons, this happened to me my first fight in the UFC. I had been operating off of other people's systems. I had been trained by so many great people. Like, I'm so grateful for all of the training that my instructors, my coaches were able to give me. Right, I had Bill Mahood, UFC vet, like early days UFC vet, fought Forrest Griffin. I had Bibiano Fernandez, multiple time world champion, dream champion, like guy was 1FC champion, like just so good. Tony Pep fought Floyd Mayweather to a decision, no marks on his face, like IBO champion. Faraz Zahabi, rated one of the greatest mixed martial arts coaches that ever lived. Johnny Mucciarone, who nobody knows who this guy is, but if you've been a fan of the channel, you heard me talk about this guy so many times. He's just salt of the earth and was really there for me, especially on like a personal, like emotional level. This guy was just A1 and gave my kicks just a whole new dimension. That's one of the things that really led to my success in the UFC was my kick game that no one had. I had so many good coaches, but I got to a place where I had been training for 15 years. I had been learning like a sponge from all of these people, and I had attained a higher level than they had. Now at that point, you're gonna know more than your coaches. And this is actually what every coach wants. Like, this is what I want. I want my students to surpass me. If my students can't surpass me, if at least one can't surpass me, then I probably failed a bit as a coach. So this shouldn't be taken disrespectfully from any coaches. But where I got to, I knew more about the fights, about strategy, about diversity of skill than my coaches did. And most importantly, I knew more about me. Like, your coaches aren't in your body. Your coaches aren't in your brain. They know your habits, they know your personality, but they don't know the thoughts that you think. They don't know what feels good to you, what feels awkward to you. Like, they might be able to have some idea, but not like you do. So how are they going to be able to tell you how your unique body-brain combination should approach fighting? How can they make you the best version of yourself without intimate knowledge of everything associated with you. Only you could do that. Only you could do that. And once you attain that level, you have to trust yourself, because not only do you know yourself better, but you're the one with everything to lose. Like, yeah, your coach puts a ton of time into you, right? I put so much time into my athletes, but they put a whole lot more time into themselves than I put into them. And the repercussions of whatever is going to happen in the fight, that's on you. Like, if my fighter gets booted out of the UFC, I have like 20 more fighters. If you get booted out of the UFC, like, you obviously don't have 20 more yous. Don't clone yourself. It's not possible. Or maybe it is, but that's to the side. So when I fought Tai Hyun Bong, I know I've talked a lot about that fight, but it was so influential for me. When I fought him, I had such a diverse skill set. All of my coaches were so happy with my development. Right? I had all these long range attacks. I had kicks from all these different angles. I was a slick boxer. I was a BJJ brown belt for like 9 years. Like, I was highly capable in freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. Like, I had such a diverse skill set, but the way it was organized and the approach was all wrong. One of my coaches was telling me that I needed to push people back, right? That I needed to move forward and use my attacks like hyper offensively, which, if you're fighting a shorter blockhead power puncher, that's a real bad idea. Some of my coaches were saying that I just needed to shoot more takedowns, or I needed to throw elbows more. I knew after getting knocked out a couple times, I finally figured out, after like sitting with myself and asking myself questions over and over, okay, what am I better than everybody in the world at? What have I never seen another fighter in person or on TV be capable of that I am capable of? And my answer was dynamic movement. Like, I can learn things so fast. That's why I'm so capable in all of these different styles of martial arts, where I'm learning beside other fighters with the same experience level, and I just pick everything up way faster, right? I grew up like breakdancing and skateboarding, so these like big, complicated, dynamic movements are just not difficult for me to do. I'm just natural. But my skill set, my approach, was very similar to most of the other people's approaches in the UFC. So I had to figure out a way that I could really lean into my movement, my footwork, in order to implement my own best attributes in a fight and nullify my opponent's best attributes in a fight. Now, I learned that lesson. But something about me, I like to learn things more than one time. I don't always learn the first time. I usually learn the hard way. So I had to learn this again. When I fought Rustam, I knew that we had actually had this fight booked previously. I was supposed to fight him in March when I fought Stevie Ray, but he pulled out a month out because he had to have knee surgery. So I know he has bad knees. Also, just looking at the guy, he's not structurally sound. Like, his legs are like bow legs, like they go like that. So I know, like, okay, that guy can be heel hooked pretty bad. I can wreck him. I also had a bunch of intel because he had trained at TriStar Gym, so Faraz didn't really tell me anything, but a lot of the other people did, and everybody's like, bro, this guy just taps the leg lock so fast. Like, everybody would just leg locked him, right? He's difficult to box with, he's difficult to wrestle with, but you can just leg lock him. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea, right? And then one of my coaches said, no, don't worry about the legs. Do this armbar instead. Just armbar and triangle. Armbar and triangle. You don't need a leg lock. And I was like, okay, I really trusted my coaches. Even after learning that like 4 fights ago, I still really trusted my coaches. So I go out and I fight this guy, and I'm like, okay, well, if he takes me down, like, I've got this sick new armbar that I learned, and then I got this triangle, and yeah, one of those is probably gonna work. And if not, well, I'll use my butterfly guard and build up or whatever. So I'm implementing a lot of the strategies that I was talking about after I fought Islam. I'm framing, I'm like defending the takedown like right to the death. Like, the guy wouldn't accept it at all, and made it really hard for him to take me down. But then he did get me down, and the whole second round I'm like, armbar, triangle, armbar, triangle, triangle, armbar, triangle, armbar, triangle. Like, bro, I attacked so many armbars and triangles in the fight, and they didn't work. And then Right at the end, I like whooped this guy for like, I think it was 4 minutes of the third round. I'm just like attacking this guy and whooping his ass real good. And then I have one little mental lapse and boom, super easy double leg. He double legged me. I was like, fuck, this sucks. And then he starts talking to me, this guy. He's like, you stay down all around. Now you stay down all around. I'm like, fuck you. Yeah, okay. I'll stay down, but you're going to fucking get triangled and armbar. So I'm going triangle armbar, triangle armbar. And he's just posturing out of the shit. And then because he's posturing out of shit, his legs are available. If the person brings their arms and their legs arms and their legs. If they bring their arms and their head way up here and you're down there, well, you're pretty close to their legs. So maybe you should attack the legs and not the arms. So I finally did it. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going. And I went and I inverted to the leg and like, I had the bite for a heel hook so fast. And right as I get that bite, I'm just about to crank it. Ding! Oh, fuck. It was so bad. It was so bad. And they actually gave that round to him. Well, two of the judges. One of them was from Vegas. I suspect there was some shenanigans, but you never know. Regardless, I could have finished that fight in the second round with a heel. He was making that same shape. He was posturing the whole second round out of my triangle, out of my armbar, but it didn't go to the leg because it wasn't in my plan. And then at the last couple seconds, I just said, fuck it, and chucked a leg lock, quoting John Danaher. If you guys know the reference, okay? Ding. If I had finished that heel hook, if I had 10 seconds more in that round, or if I had been smarter and trusted myself, I would have heel hooked him for sure and finished that fight. And then maybe I would actually be UFC champion now, because the only guy that beat me became UFC champion. And after Rustam, kind of figured out some strategies that might have worked pretty good against that guy. Changed my whole career. And that was the last MMA fight I ever had. So learn this and believe in yourself. For number 3. Number 4, prepare for everything. I made this mistake many times in my career, but a few times in the UFC, and it cost me. When I fought Tai Hyun Bong, Bong again. When I fought him, I thought I was going to be fighting a southpaw. So I spent my whole training camp training for a southpaw. And then the guy comes out orthodox, and he fights me orthodox the entire time. He had never done that. I was like, what the hell is this? I knew how to fight orthodox people. I was good with my jab and my cross and my low kick and my left head kick. Like, I had a bunch of weapons that are just great against orthodox people. But I was so taken aback because I hadn't been really preparing that. So already I'm like behind. At the start of the fight, I'm like behind. My brain is trying to catch up. It's trying to formulate a plan now. You need to have plan A. You need to have plan B, C, D, E, F, G, H to Z, man. You have to have a billion plans. Now, there should still be some priority. Okay, this is what we think is going to happen. This is plan A. But when plan A fails, if you got nothing else and you got to try to create it in the moment, it's going to be hard. So train absolutely everything. If you are not expecting this to be a fight that needs a lot of wrestling, right? You're fighting some dude that's a boxer. And then you just work on your boxing, right? All camp, you're just working on your hands because that's what you like to do anyway. It's like, yes, I finally get to fight somebody that's not just going to dive at my legs. I'm just going to light them up, man. You're just like, you're not really prepping for a wrestling battle. Those things require different energy systems, right? Boxing is very different than wrestling. The amount of cardio that it costs is a lot. Well, what happens if 1 week notice or 24 hours notice your opponent changes, right? And now you're fighting a wrestler, an NCAA wrestler, or a Dagestani. Now what? Now you're just gonna box them? Do you think you might question whether or not your body has been prepared for wrestling? You're gonna have a lot of negative speech that you gotta deal with. So prepare for everything. That way, you are already in the game no matter what happens. And the biggest thing is you don't fucking know what's gonna happen. You don't know what people are gonna do. You know what they've done. You know what they've done. That's good intelligence. You should do your research on all your opponents, watch all their tapes in slow motion, watch their oldest fights, watch their newest fights, watch every single fight. Watch who beat them, watch who didn't beat them, watch everything. But know that that is the past, and the present does not rely on the past. people can be created. People can recreate themselves like I did. Between Bong and Zhang Weiping, I recreated myself totally. I was a completely different fighter. Probably took the guy like, what the hell is this? What am I dealing with, right? You don't want to be that guy. You want to have plans for absolutely everything, okay? So don't make the mistake I did. Prepare for every single situation. Number 5, strategy does not stop in the octagon. It's not just in the fight that you need to prepare strategically for your opponent. Don't see this as one fight, right? Do you think that generals of war just think about one battle? All we got to focus on is this one little battle in this one little town. There's an entire war, but they're just going to focus on that little battle. You don't prepare for the battle. You got to prepare for the war. Well, prepare for the battle and the war. Okay, you need both. You need everything. See your entire career as a campaign. Once you get in the doors, you got to find the easiest pathway to victory, right? That's what martial arts is. It's not like, how can I do the most dangerous thing? Martial arts is, how can I safely destroy my opponent? How can I take the path of least resistance to victory? That's the martial art, right? Be water. Water will erode things over time, but it always takes the path of least resistance. You got to be water. How can you do that though? You got to get the best fights. If you can find easy fights that leave the title shots, that's what you need to do. How do you do that? Well, you research and then you look at who has done that. And that's what I did after I fought Naoyuki Kotani. I fought Bong, knockout, comeback. Zhang Weiping, flawless victory. Naoyuki Kotani, flawless victory. Somehow, in the Kotani fight though, literally woke up the next day and it's like, my shoulder feels weird. I went and got an MRI and they're like, your labrum is torn completely off and your rotator cuff is hanging on by a thread. That made me think, because I had a bit of a plan, but I thought that I would have a lot of time. I wasn't that old at this point. I'm like 31, I believe, maybe 32. So I still had time to get to the championship. I still had time to become the greatest, but maybe I didn't. Maybe there'd been so much damage that my body had incurred by turning pro in high school at 17 and fighting all of the best guys that I could possibly find throughout my career. Maybe my body had just been damaged too heavily that I didn't have as much time as I thought. So that made me want to create the fastest pathway to the title, which I should have been doing in the first place. So I had to start looking and digging, like, okay, who had the fastest pathway to the title? Ronda Rousey. She got the title with 0 UFC fights. Anderson Silva got the title after 1 UFC fight. Well, title shot. Okay, title shot after 0, after 1. Brock Lesnar got the title shot after 2 fights. Pereira got it after 3 fights. Conor got it after 6 fights. Now, some of those people had already won a belt in an adjacent and highly touted organization, right? Anderson Silva was the champion of Pride. Ronda Rousey was a champion of Strikeforce, which that was the biggest stage for women before the UFC actually allowed them in. Pereira was like, you guys already know, but like highly ranked kickboxer, had a bunch of belts. All of those guys already had the status, but Conor McGregor, Brock Lesnar, they didn't. So how did they do it? Well, Brock had crazy status still, because even though he wasn't a champ in some other organization like WWE, how many people are going to tune in to watch that fight? So that many people want to tune in to watch him fight. Maybe it's in the UFC's best interest to have that guy have the title, because then it's going to like double the amount of people that are going to want to watch that fight. And then Conor didn't have the status. So that was the person I focused on, because he didn't have status before he came in, but he acquired it very quickly. And he also got very favorable matchups. Like the only wrestler he fought before getting a title was Chad Mendes on like 2 weeks notice. Guy was like hunting, he was all fat and like had to cut weight, and 2 weeks later he fights Conor McGregor. And then he actually starts whooping on him until he gets tired. Takes one body kick, gets tired, and then gets finished. Conor had just the easiest path, and I wanted something like that. So then I started looking, okay, so what is Conor McGregor doing? Well, he's selling tickets. And of the people that I mentioned, actually, 3 of those people that I mentioned that had the fastest pathway to the UFC were also the highest ticket sellers in UFC history. Ronda first, and then Lesnar, and then Conor. Those are the 3 top sellers. And they're also 3 of the top people that ascended to the highest place the fastest. So I started studying, okay, what sells fights? What is the method of selling a fight? What is the method of generating attention? Because that's really what it is. We want attention. If you can get attention, then the person wants to know what's going to happen. But knowing what's going to happen, that's story, right? So that's what it is. We need to create a story, all right? So what stories are being told? That was the question. What stories are being told? One of the answers is just obvious. This is almost how every single person promotes themselves. Fighter B versus Fighter A. I don't like you. I don't like you. Your mom sucks. Oh, well, your country sucks. Bah, bah. Oh, wow. Oh, this is so interesting. Now we want to see the end of this story. These guys really hate each other. Oh, I can't wait to watch. Right? That's the number one story. Everybody does. Now, at the time, I believed myself to be above that. I'm not anymore. but I was at that time. I know a lot more about fight promotion now, and it's probably easiest to do the thing that's easiest. But at that time, I was like, no, that's against my principles. I'm not going to talk bad about a fellow fighter. I don't want to do that. So then I started looking, okay, well, what else is there? What other stories could we tell? And I actually came across a really weird place. The WWE. Now, most people don't study the WWE in order to figure out how to prize fight. But I thought it was a good idea because everybody knows the fights are fake, yet they still watch, right? You still want to know the end of the story, even though you know the story is scripted. But it kind of makes sense because that's what movies are. You still want to know the end. You know it's not real, but you want to know the end. So what stories does the WWE tell? I was honest. Number one, same thing. Fighter A versus Fighter B, right? That's the first one. Then they started doing something else. Stone Cold Steve Austin enters the chat. And that guy, although he's probably ruffling some feathers with fellow wrestlers, he's also messing with Triple H or Vince McMahon. It was Vince McMahon at the time. He starts messing with the boss, right? And that sells. It sells so well that Vince McMahon starts doing steroids and telling that, and they tell that story all the time. And then they replace Vince McMahon with Triple H. And then they're telling the story all the time. Now it's just like a wrestler is the owner. So I'm like, well, I know that UFC is rigged. I know that this is a monopolist organization that is actually doing a bunch of illegal stuff if we were boxers. But they're getting away with it because we're MMA fighters. So I can tell that story. That's an interesting story. And it's actually a long-term story. If I start telling it now, not only will the person want to see what happens in the next fight, whether or not I'm able to pull it off or get cut, because that's essentially what it is, but they will also want to know what the end of the total story is. Can I actually start a union? Which I was trying to do. I was trying to start this union called Project Spearhead, me and Leslie Smith. She was the president, I was the vice president. We actually brought Ally Quinta on as the treasurer until he signed a new contract with the UFC, and then he just faded into the background. We were actually trying to do this because I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. That's why I didn't want to do that Fighter A versus Fighter B thing, because I'm in the UFC at the same time as Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor's approach is highly successful, but everybody can see that, and now everyone is trying to copy it, and it's just so facepalm. It's so fake. With Conor, it's not fake because he's just highly disagreeable and really funny, and he's got this funny accent or interesting accent. The things he says are witty. He does it and it seems genuine. But then all these other dudes start trying to copy, and it's just not genuine. That's not who they are. But they're trying to be that in order to sell. That doesn't work, okay? Or maybe it'll work a little bit. If you go really hard, maybe you can be Colby Covington. If you want to be Colby Covington, have fun. That's not my lane. I knew that I couldn't pull that off because it wasn't real. People want to see something that's really of you, right? Really tied to your personality. So I decided to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I started to speak my opinion on the UFC's business practices. I even went so far as using my talents as a hip-hop artist, as a rapper, to start making music videos that would say what I was thinking about the UFC in order to promote myself. Now, these started somewhat small. The production was okay. The writing was really good. My delivery was kind of crazy because I was like half losing my mind at this point. But the approach was unique and not completely ridiculous. Well, maybe a little, but it worked. Okay, it was starting to work. I was starting to like get some traction. I was starting to get more news stories about me. I made this song called The List. Okay, it's still on YouTube. You can go watch it. I was calling out 6 different fighters to fight me, and I wasn't saying anything crazy about them. I was just saying that I wanted to fight them and maybe what I would do, like I'd choke you out or whatever, right? And I had Mr. Ally Aquinta bite on that, and some hype started to build around that. Never actually materialized, but it started. Now, I also made a video. The last video that I ever made was about Dana White. The song wasn't really written about Dana White, but it always was a little bit. It's kind of catchy song called Hustle Makes Muscle, right? And I shot this music video where I was a werewolf, and me and my werewolf buddies grabbed Dana White and kidnapped him and brought him and roasted him over a fire. And right before he got roasted over the fire, he peed his pants. It was absolutely hilarious. I had the best time of my life working on this music video. And I thought it was gonna blow up, but it didn't, because nobody would touch it. Because anybody that put out that video, any news agency that put out that video would have been ostracized from the UFC. I actually went so far as to tell the UFC that I was gonna do this. I told them that I was gonna use music videos to promote myself. And then I sent them the video because they asked me to. They're like, yeah, as soon as you're done, like send it to us. 3 weeks before your fight, we'll push it through all our channels. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. But then I make this music video and I give it to them. They're like, we can't use that. Like, damn it. And that was actually for the Islam fight. So I played a very dangerous game. I knew that there could be extremely bad repercussions if I was not able to win every single fight. I knew that. But I also knew that if I was able to win every single fight and I didn't use a strategy like this, I would just be like everybody else. And so I would have a very slow path to the title. And by the time I got there, it's likely my body would have been too broken to continue. So I had to do it. And you don't have to do it like me. You don't have to do it in the riskiest way you possibly could. But you have to do it in a way that's unique to you. You have to find some aspect of your personality, whatever that is. And then you got to find a way to magnify that and to get everyone that is like you to pay attention. And if you can do that, your pathway will be so much easier, because they won't see you as just this fighter XYZ from whatever country. They'll see you as a fan base. They'll see you as representing an entire demographic. If you can get, if you're a nerd and you just love computer games, if you can get all of the other computer game loving nerds to be on your back by telling some sort of story that makes them interested, well then the UFC, even if you lose, they're not going to cut you. They want those people to keep tuning in. They need asses in seats, because that's dollars in pockets. So if you put their asses in the seat, they're going to give you better contracts. They're going to give you better opponents. They're going to give you a better pathway to the title. Not enough people talk about this. The game is not who can win the fight. It's that, obviously. But it's also who can game the system, who can hack the system, who can utilize their skill set, their personality, and their approach to be in everybody's minds. That's the job. If you can't do that, you're just going to be another fighter. And you have to take that normal pathway that everybody takes. And that's a long pathway. You're looking at like 10 fights to the title, 15 fights to the title. Bro, I hope you're young. If that's you, I hope you're young. You better be 25. If not, man, find a way to generate ridiculous amounts of attention. And the other thing, last point, the door is open right now. The goal is open. The goalie left. Nobody is doing this. Nobody is really promoting themselves. How many star level UFC fighters that are currently signed can you talk about? I watch UFC all the time. Not all the time, not everyone, but this is what I do for a living. I watch a lot. Pereira, Islam, Topuria. That's about it. And they're not even star like Ronda Rousey, star like John Jones, star like Conor McGregor. They're not even close. Star like Brock Lesnar. Not even close, bro. They're not selling like that. Not even close. It's not even a contest. The door is open. The goalie has left the net. You just have to find a way to shoot the damn puck. So go. That's what's required. I hope you listen to this. I hope you act on it. And if you do, even before you get in the UFC, everything will be easier.